Welcome to PlayStation Access, my name's Rob and this is Dragon Dogma 2 on PS5. We played for several hours and let me tell you, this game is an infinite wonder generator. It bombards you with so many astonishing sights and sounds that I'm tempted to do my best Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner impression because I've genuinely seen things you people wouldn't believe. An archer plucked from the back of a stone golem by a rampaging griffin. I watched a loyal companion brainwashed by the smouldering stare of a drake. I rode a cyclops as it face planted into a majestic pine and collapsed in a sad pile. There was also the less impressive moment I fell over and a wolf seized my head in its jaws and dragged me for miles like a dog stealing a string of sausages from the butcher's. Look at his mates rolling up for an all-you-can-eat Rob buffet. Feast away, but please leave me a good review on TripAdvisor. Such things are everyday occurrences in Dragon Dogma 2, a world rife with strange alchemy. In the lands of Vermund and Batal, esoteric systems rub shoulders with slapstick physics to conjure up moments of emergent madness that most developers could spend years trying to choreograph. I'm going to attempt to run through all the stuff that caught my imagination and the ways I think it'll sink its teeth into you as well. Oh god, now I'm thinking about the whole wolf thing again. Moving swiftly on. I need to start with something very, very important. In Dragon's Dogma 2, you can kill creatures, harvest their meats, and then cook those meats when you rest at camp. And I honestly can't tell if these meats are real or not. As in, is this a computer-generated image or a video of real meat cooking? If it's digital, these might be the most amazing graphics I've ever seen. The flickering flames, the dewy specks of oil on the frying pan, the seams of intramuscular fat marbling through the flesh. This has to be real meat, right? But then from certain angles, is that hunk of flesh a tiny bit too shiny or rigid around the edges? Is this a CG chop inserted onto a video of a frying pan? I have genuinely put in a request with Capcom of Japan to find out if this is real or not. That is how much sleep I am losing over this. The stakes are that high. But are the stakes real? Please type real or fake in the comments because I am losing it over here. That I can include 40 seconds of meat pornography tells you something important about Dragon's Dogma 2. This is a game with its own groove. You could probably glean that from its DNA. It's an open-world action RPG made by the team behind the Devil May Cry series. They know how to make a tiny man stabbing a giant demon feel amazing, that's a given. But their background also means they don't bring years of RPG preconceptions and genre baggage. There's no sense of a guiding hand on your back. The map is blessedly icon-free. There are no glowing quest pointers, and if someone wants a job done, they'll holler as you mosey by.
Oi, you there! You've just arrived in town, haven't you?
In turn, that work is rarely spelled out. If a local boy goes missing, it's up to you to deduce the what, where and why from hearsay and gossip in the town square. People mention flower picking and plants that glow at night, so you take a nap and pray that the local peasants weren't drunk on mead as you follow luminous buds into the deadly dark. It's risky giving people freedom. You might misunderstand the task, or half understand and follow the flowers part of the way, get distracted by a wight and his skeleton support band, and then forget about the boy entirely. The clock is ticking on some of these quests, so we can only imagine what happened to that poor kid. But that you're allowed to get lost and get it wrong feels deliciously out of step with the breadcrumb trails of modern open worlds. If there were breadcrumbs here, they'd only draw the attention of the world's nastiest pigeon. I know it's against the law to describe any game as a living, breathing world, so let's say that this one hiccups with vitality. The way you'll find ox carts on the road and can hitch a ride on them, but only if you want to go where the farmer was already heading, no matter how belligerently you protest. Or the way night falls and suddenly the inky black is dotted with the torches of other nervous travellers hurrying to camps. Or the sudden tension of accidentally flashing your giant double-ended spear and seeing the whole town bare its fangs at you. Its fantasy vision is charmingly straightforward. It resists the grim, dark desolation of From Software and the weary sadness of The Witcher, instead tapping into a broader, more optimistic sense of adventure. It feels like the kind of world you'd scribble as a kid with a head full of Tolkien. Deep valleys with goblins around every corner, serene forests where the peace is suddenly shattered by a roar you can't quite place. Or just the simple pleasure of a cave promising a treasure chest, and something horrible living near the treasure chest. Night is dark and scary because, well, night is dark and scary. It's a place where people say twere and twas and mayhap. They spell Sir S-E-R, not S-I-R, and it feels like the NPC dialogue is keeping an entire county of British actors in work. As you crest another hill to discover an idyllic beachy hamlet, or suddenly stumble across a phantom ox cart that dematerializes into the night, there's just such immaculate vibes to the tone of Dragon's Dogma 2. The map also doubles as a monster zoo, which often feels like a trip down Capcom's monster memory lane. There are zombies, so I'm now on the lookout for ye olde umbrella apothecary. Devil May Cry has always done a good line in Lizard Warriors. There are ghosts, there are goblins. I'm not sure there are ever ghosts and goblins, but it could feasibly happen. Not to mention the returning Dragon's Dogma classics, harpies lulling your party to sleep only for an ogre to rudely butt slam them into paste, or the bucking bronco of grabbing onto a griffin's feathers and hoping for free air miles. Side note, one of our sidekicks used flames on this big bird, and it sadly did not result in photorealistic drumsticks. They drip with personality. I love how ogres try to grab female members of the party and then run off to privately slobber on them. Or the incredible self-own, where the same ogre tries to squish us climbing up his back, leaving his head open for violent stabs. It's worth pointing out that these things can happen because Capcom gives you room for these things to happen. It's not that Dragon's Dogma 2 is an easy game. Every attack you take chips away at your maximum health until you camp, and camping itself can be ambushed, which is as frightening and discombobulating as you'd expect. But this isn't an Elden Ring health bar vaporizing before your eyes. Most of the time you'll survive long enough for weird stuff to kick in, to have a 5-minute slobber knocker of a punch-up with a Cyclops, or for a simple wolf fight to escalate into a griffin encounter. A quick death is the enemy of emergent fun, and Dragon's Dogma 2 gets this. The best fights feel like punchier Monster Hunter encounters, where you spend ages chipping away at multiple health bars, waiting to see what tricks a creature might turn to out of desperation. Take golems, which are untouchable unless you hit glowing medals, which I think the golem may have borrowed from Resident Evil 4's blue medallion hunt. Anyway, until you strike these targets, you're under a constant barrage of eye lasers, swinging fists, and a red-hot rampage that looks like me if I drink too much Fanta. Climb up his body and you'll likely get a rib-cracking squeeze. But just like a Monster Hunter fight, you eventually get to the point where the brute's on the ropes and you feel a bit sorry for it. Look how it tumbles over like a kid protesting at having to tidy their room. Or the way your party tug its leg to reveal the final seal on the sole of its foot. There's such physicality and brutality when these things kick off. Don't worry though, there's plenty of stuff waiting to be brutal back. Let's single out the Drake, a smaller version of the dragon who serves as the heart-plucking big bad in Dragon's Dogma 2. That earlier dragon run-in seems to have left you with a creepy bond with lizard kind. Both your chests begin to throb and you hear it rasping to you with big parcel tongue energy. The Drake quickly goes from whispering sweet nothings in your ear to spraying hot plenties in your face with thick jets of gloopy fire toasting the battlefield. A glowing weak spot lies tantalizingly in reach, but every attempt ends in torched companions and a quick death. Oh, and the moment it grabbed Mally and possessed her with a dark stare, forcing us to fight our own party. Yes, we soon died. That was despite our best efforts to master 2 advanced vocations, the classes that define the Arisen's powers. In this demo, we tried the Magic Archer and the Mystic Spearhand, which both blend physical combat and magic to some extent. The Mystic Spearhand carries a dual-ended spear that can lop off lizard parts or let you do your best Darth Maul cosplay. Speaking of the Sith, your magic affinity also gives you Humble Offering, a force lift by any other name, that lets you fling objects and enemies with the power of your mind. You also get the Redoubted Bolt. Hit an enemy with this projectile and you can either detonate it or teleport to the target to get up close with some speedy jabbing. Throw in the magic shield of Mirror Vesture, all these little projectile daggers, and it adds up to a class that lets you nimbly shift between distant and close-range drubbings. The Magic Archer is flimsy up close, but melds spells with arrows for targeted pain. Holding attack locks on more projectiles, and your conversion skill lets you switch from a giant reticule that targets multiple enemies to a focused aim that quickly queues up attacks against one spot. You can also steer a Flame Fang arrow in first person, handy for those golem medals, or missing those medals and taking in the sights. And the Remedy arrow heals party members or yourself when aimed at your own feet. Perhaps the most delicious move is the Ricochet Seeker, bouncing arrows that become lethal in a confined space. Look how the Cave Ogre's health bar melts under the bombardment. If Dragon's Dogma 2 was 90% caves, this would be my vocation of choice. Finally, a love letter to pawns. That's P-A-W-N. Whatever vocation your Arisen is, these AI-controlled party members end up doing most of the hard work, covering you with healing balms and covering giant birds with very unhealing fire. It's just always nice to see people who are good at their jobs doing their thing. Watching a warrior pawn scampering up the torso of a monster fills me with fatherly pride and relief that it's him, not me. You get to craft your own main pawn, but the other 2 are recruited from the world, and in an ingenious twist they can be enlisted from other people's worlds. Yes, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a multiverse of sorts, where all of our individual adventures are happening in parallel. It explains why you can dip into other realities, pluck out a pawn and then bring them into your party. It also means if that pawn has completed a quest in their origin world, they bring that knowledge into your game and can offer extra guidance when you're on that quest. When an NPC suddenly chimes in that they know the location of a treasure they recall from a past life, it gives you a shiver of genuine magic. Though on the flip side, when they keep talking about previous masters, it can feel like journeying with a bunch of people who can't shut up about their exes.
One master I served was quite the carefree soul, shunning armor in all its forms.
Cool, good for them. I happen to like armor.
One of my former masters chose to hire only women. I wonder why.
Yeah, but I'm your master now. Can we stop talking about the other guy? Honestly, it's like adventuring inside the distracted boyfriend meme. I'd argue these foibles is what makes them so effective. Capcom mimic the experience of online co-op, which is something Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't support. Instead of mic chat, you hear pawns talking and you begin projecting personalities on them. Like Emma, who can't seem to make her mind up. One minute she's all,
Let us be thorough. Scrupulous investigation is the cornerstone of any adventure.
and the next second she's chastising you for being too scrupulous.
You're like to grow overburdened if you keep picking up every little trinket you find.
Emma is as frustrating to play games with as Dave or Rosie, but unlike Dave or Rosie, Emma will be there for me if I want to play at 3 a.m. When you combine all of this stuff, the real but not real party, the physicality of combat, the magic of discovery when a game doesn't hold your hand, it adds up to an action RPG unlike any other. There's so little received wisdom here. Or if it is received, it's Capcom bringing in ideas from outside open world games. So it all seems very refreshing. I'm frankly terrified that in a year that has already given us Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that there's another huge time sink as compelling as this knocking on the door when Dragon's Dogma 2 arrives on PS5 on the 22nd of March. I think it could drag me away for some time. Yes, just like the wolf. Thanks for listening to our thoughts on drakes and meat. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and write something nice in the comments, please. Subscribe to PlayStation Access for loads more on Dragon's Dogma 2, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.